Formula One is sold as speed, precision, and glory, but beneath the glamour lies a darker truth. Moments where a single heartbeat decides survival or tragedy. These are not just crashes. These are the moments when the sport held its breath, and with every clip, the danger rises. 1. Fernando Alonso y Esteban Gutiérrez, Scarier, Australia 2016. The Formula One season was just getting started when an unexpected accident occurred. Melbourne, 2016, lap 17. What seemed like an ordinary moment between two cars suddenly turned into a situation that was very scary. Esteban Gutiérrez was a little bit earlier in braking than Fernando Alonso was expecting. The time difference was just a few hundredths of a second. At the speed of nearly 300 kilometers per hour, Alonso had no escape route. He smashed his McLaren into the back of the Haas, and the car was thrown up into the sky violently. The car turned, hit the barriers, and rolled over on the track, destroying parts of it with each impact. For a few seconds, the silence of the circuit was deafening. No one moved. There was no radio message. Nothing at all. Then, almost miraculously, Alonso emerged from the wrecked car. He had bruises all over his body, was shaken up, and had fractured ribs. But he was alive. Afterwards, he made a joke that he was in such a hurry to get out because his mother was watching at home, and he wanted her to see him walk away. Underneath the joking, there was a harsh reality. In Formula One, even the most common situations can turn into life-threatening ones in no time. 2. Lando Norris, Belgian GP, qualifying 2021. Spa-Francorchamps is dangerous when conditions are perfect. In the rain, it becomes merciless. Belgian Grand Prix qualifying in 2021 descended into uncertainty as heavy rain crushed visibility and soaked every braking zone. Drivers complained over the radio, questioning whether the session should even continue. But despite the conditions, Lando Norris was unstoppable. He topped both Q1 and Q2, attacking the circuit with confidence that bordered on fearlessness. Then came Eau Rouge. In a split second, everything disappeared. The McLaren lost grip without warning, snapping violently as if the track had simply vanished beneath him. At nearly 280 kilometers per hour, Norris slammed into the barriers, spinning helplessly through sheets of water. The silence that followed was unsettling. In the pit lane, the McLaren garage froze. Sebastian Vettel stopped immediately and demanded confirmation that Lando was okay. Seconds later, a shaken voice came over the radio. "Yeah, I'm sorry." Norris survived and incredibly raced the next day. Still, watching it back raises one haunting question. Would you have climbed back into that car? 3. Derek Warwick, Italian Grand Prix 1990.
As I said, it's almost unbelievable. Oh my God.
This crash came from a time when Formula One offered far fewer guarantees of survival. Monza, 1990, a circuit built almost entirely around speed. Derek Warwick's day had already gone wrong before the race even began, with his Lotus stalling during warm-up. Frustrating, yes, but nothing compared to what followed. Charging toward the high-speed Variante, Warwick's car suddenly lost control. There was no warning and no room to recover. At nearly 150 miles per hour, the Lotus speared off the track and slammed violently into the barriers, exploding into fragments of carbon fiber that scattered across the circuit. The impact was brutal enough to end careers, and in that era, sometimes lives. Then came the unbelievable moment. Warwick climbed out. He didn't limp, he didn't collapse, he walked away. Even more shocking, he returned to the garage and asked to get into the spare car. In a different decade, with weaker safety standards, this crash could have ended everything. 4. Hamilton versus Verstappen, British GP 2021.
This is the accident. Oh, and it was the merest of touches, but it was enough. And look how the wheel has come loose.
This accident was not merely a collision. It was the turning point of an entire season. Silverstone, 2021. The fight for the championship between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen was very tense already, and from the very first lap, neither driver was ready to give in. They raced side by side through one corner after another, the tension getting higher with every meter. Then came cops. At full speed, both of them kept their foot on the gas. Contact was unavoidable. Verstappen's Red Bull got violently sent off the track and crashed into the barriers at a staggering 51 G-force. The impact was so strong that Max was rushed to the hospital for a precautionary examination. In the paddock, mayhem broke loose. Red Bull accused Hamilton of driving dangerously. Fans and teams took sides immediately. The stewards handed Hamilton a 10-second penalty. But the drama was far from over. Hamilton fought his way back through the field and won the race in front of a roaring home crowd. From that moment on, the title fight stopped being a respectful competition. It became outright warfare. 5. Felipe Massa's helmet strike. Chi, Hungary 2009.
Os do acidente foram claras, mas demorou para entender como aquela peça estava voando no meio da pista.
Not every terrifying moment in Formula One comes from wheel-to-wheel fighting. Sometimes danger arrives from nowhere. Hungary 2009. Felipe Massa was deep into a qualifying lap, fully focused, fully committed. Nothing seemed out of place. Then fate intervened in the cruelest way possible. A suspension spring broke loose from Rubens Barrichello's car ahead and bounced directly into Massa's racing line. There was no time to react. At nearly 260 kilometers per hour, the spring struck Massa's helmet with devastating force. Instantly, his head snapped back. He was unconscious before he even realized what had happened. His foot remained on the accelerator as the Ferrari continued straight into the barriers, completely out of control. The impact was frightening, not because of speed alone, but because the driver was no longer present. Medical teams rushed in, and Massa was airlifted to a hospital with a skull fracture and a severe concussion. He survived, but his season ended that day. It proved something chilling. In Formula One, even the smallest object can change everything. 6. Brazilian GP 2003, when the track turned deadly. The 2003 Brazilian Grand Prix was not only a rainy race but also a slow-motion catastrophe. The torrential rain turned the Interlagos circuit into a minefield, with the worst point at Turn 3, where water flowed over the track like a river. The drivers were accidentally taken down one after the other. Montoya was the first to experience hydroplaning. Pizzonia was next, and Furman was last. The cars would not stop sliding, and it looked like the tarmac underneath them had disappeared. Even Michael Schumacher, the current world champion, lost grip and crashed out. The murky water took the situation to a higher level. Mark Webber hit the water at a very fast speed and crashed into the wall, scattering debris all over the track. In a matter of seconds, Fernando Alonso came in at full throttle, hit one of Webber's unprotected wheels, and was thrown violently into the barriers. His car was totally wrecked in the process. The race was called off straight away. There was a lot of confusion. Even the winner was first mistakenly identified. This was not chaotic racing for mere amusement. It was a situation of losing control and posing danger. It was a circuit that revealed the harsh truth of being the most unwelcome opponent at times. 7. Mark Webber's airborne flip, Valencia 2010. This crash didn't just look violent, it looked impossible. Valencia 2010. Mark Webber was pushing hard, desperate to clear slower traffic before strategy came into play. Ahead of him was Heikki Kovalinen's Lotus, a car moving far slower than the Red Bull. The closing speed was enormous, and the margin for error was almost non-existent. As Webber approached, a slight miscalculation turned into a nightmare. The Red Bull clipped the rear of the Lotus, and physics took over. In an instant, the car was launched into the air like a missile. It rose, rotated, and flipped completely upside down before slamming back toward the barriers. The impact was horrifying. An inverted Formula One car sliding into a wall at racing speed is an image that stops time. The paddock fell silent. Marshals froze. For several agonizing seconds, no one knew what they were about to witness. Then, incredibly, Webber unclipped himself and climbed out. Later, he laughed it off, saying he was a bit sore. But the footage told a darker truth. Even modern F1 machines can become airborne weapons. and survival is never guaranteed. 8. Gerhard Berger's Fireball, Gertjerd, San Marino, 1989.
Ferrari's engine probably isn't quite as powerful. Oops, and big problems. That was something broken on the car for sure. Big crash by Berger.
This is the instant when dread reaches its highest point. Imola, 1989. Gerhard Berger was powering his Ferrari to the limit, racing towards Tamburello, the corner that sent shivers down the spines of even the most dauntless drivers of the period. As he was braking, the car unexpectedly lost its rear and went right. It was all very sudden, and one did not have time to react. Berger crashed into the concrete barrier head-on at a speed of almost 280 kilometers per hour. What ensued was a pure nightmare. The Ferrari became a huge fireball. The flames were gobbling up the cockpit and bursting outwards. For 10 agonizing seconds, Berger was held captive in the burning wreck. The wait was torturous. Each second brought up the same dreadful question: was anyone still alive in there? Then the marshals arrived. Without hesitation, they ran straight into the inferno, fighting the flames and pulling Berger free. Against all odds, he survived. He suffered burns to his hands and face, but no broken bones. It was nothing short of a miracle. Even decades later, the image of that burning Ferrari remains one of the most chilling reminders of how close Formula One once lived to catastrophe. Formula One pushes drivers to the absolute edge, where survival can hinge on a single second. These crashes remind us how thin that line truly is. If this shocked you, like the video, subscribe for more untold F1 stories, and comment on which moment terrified you most.